Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin has just officially hit a new all-time record high, the highest price in history over the last one day. But in the immediate short term, we now have a new warning signal, which is now officially confirmed, which we need to pay attention to. So yes, I've just taken more profits from my Bitcoin long position, but still overall remaining long on Bitcoin. So in just a moment, I'll be giving you an exact update on my trading strategy, sharing with you exactly how I'm planning to make a lot of quick and easy profits from the next Bitcoin move about to happen very soon, while Ethereum is now holding above this crucial area of support here, and the price of Solana is now officially confirming a new short-term warning signal for the first time since this previous warning signal. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And of course, on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we're potentially now just hours away from invalidating this bearish divergence. In other words, it's already played out now for the last few months, obviously from around July all the way through towards basically the end of September. During that entire time right there, we were playing out this larger bearish divergence in the form of just a larger slowdown. Once again, as I said months ago, we're likely going to see a larger slowdown, most likely over around August, September, but not necessarily the end of the bull market. That's what I said time and time again back in July and August. And so now that we're potentially about to confirm this weekly candle close in just a few hours from now above these previous highs, once again, that would at least temporarily invalidate this bearish divergence. But if the RSI is still sitting in a lower high compared to this previous high, that still leaves open the possibility that we could reconfirm a bearish divergence at some stage later on. And so that's still definitely something to pay attention to here on the weekly time frame. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, as I talked about in my last video just yesterday, we've now officially confirmed a bullish crossover in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD, indicating finally an increase in bullish momentum. So obviously we've been relatively flat in terms of the larger momentum in the market, not extremely bullish or extremely bearish, just playing out short-term bullish moves and some short-term bearish moves. But overall, the momentum has been relatively flat. But once again, this is the first sign that we're seeing, at least on the 3-day Bitcoin chart and the 3-day Bitcoin MACD, first signal that we're seeing telling us that we're finally picking up more bullish momentum for the first time since these previous bullish crossovers here. And we can see what came next after these previous signals confirmed. Obviously the same signal that we're seeing right now. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, we can see that over the last one day, Bitcoin just officially hit a new all-time record high, which is exactly what we've been expecting here on the channel. Obviously, I've been predicting this for some time, but at least over the last few days, if you watch my last few videos, you'll see that I was talking about how it's very likely that Bitcoin is going to hit all-time highs. Basically, from the moment we broke out above around 117K, 118K, I said from that point onwards, it's extremely high probability, very, very likely that we're going to head towards all-time highs, because that was really the final significant resistance for the price of Bitcoin to really overcome, that was holding the price between basically those lower prices and all-time highs. And so obviously, ever since we saw that breakout above around 117K, we just continued pretty much straight towards all-time highs. The previous all-time high was set back here during August. That was at just above 124,000, around 124,500 approximately. And the current new all-time high that we've just set as of recording this video is above 125K, almost 125,500. And so obviously, congrats to any Bitcoin holders out there, Bitcoin investors out there, especially if you're in a long position. New all-time record highs means basically no one is in a loss right now, unless you literally just bought the exact high, or unless of course you've been shorting the market, which if you've been watching this channel, you should not be shorting the market right now. You should be doing the opposite. And overall, we're still looking very bullish in terms of this price structure here, still playing out a W pattern or double bottom pattern and this hidden bullish divergence here. And in case you're new to the channel, the technical price target for this breakout for this W pattern here, the technical price target is sitting at just above 126,000, really in between 126K to 127K. So obviously over the last one day, the price got very close to that price target. We've almost completed the exact price target that I talked about since all the way back down here another entry point in case you missed the much lower entry point for a long position. But obviously right now we still technically have a little bit more room to go before we actually complete and hit that price target. But it is worth mentioning a couple possible short-term warning signals. The first one is, of course, the RSI on the daily time frame is starting to get into overbought. Now, with that being said, we're not really that overbought yet. Previously, we've been a lot more overbought in the daily Bitcoin RSI. We're only just getting there, which means, yes, the price can run a little higher, but especially if that continues into overbought in the coming days or over the next week or so, basically, the further into overbought it gets, the higher probability that we'll likely see a bit of a cool off, which means either a sideways consolidation or likely a slight pullback, but not necessarily the end of the larger bullish movement, just a bit of a break, a cool off during the bullish movement if this RSI gets further into overbought. So something to watch out for in the coming days or over the next week. And also, if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, technically just recently over the last half a day, we've now officially just confirmed a new short-term warning signal just on the 4-hour time frame once again, which is of course a bearish divergence. We have clear higher highs confirmed in the price in the candle closes and clear lower highs confirmed in the Bitcoin RSI on the 4-hour time frame. And the last couple of times we confirmed a short-term bearish divergence here on the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, obviously we either saw a bit of a short-term pullback and then ultimately the continuation of the short-term bullish trend, or potentially a much larger pullback. But overall, it does not guarantee that this bullish move, this bullish trend is over. It does not mean that. Once again, it is possible to see this during a trend. And so keep that in mind. This is not confirmed to be a trend reversal signal, but what it does tell us is at least over the next day, maybe longer, maybe a few days, but at least over the next day or so, we're likely going to be lacking bullish momentum, which means likely either chopping around sideways or having a slight pullback, not necessarily a massive crash, but price action kind of like this could be a very likely outcome just in the next 1 or 2 days. Once again, we're only talking about very short-term moves here. And then ultimately, it is possible that we could ultimately see another breakout later on and ultimately continue the bullish trend, kind of like what we saw back here in early September. We saw a bearish divergence, saw a slight little cool off, a bit of a pullback in the price over the next 1 or 2 days, give or take, and then eventually broke out above the high, invalidated the bearish divergence, and continued higher later on. And also consider the fact that around the previous all-time high, once again at around 124,500, so really in between around 124k to 125k, do expect at least some resistance around there, because obviously a lot of traders will be paying attention to that level because it was the previous all-time high. It's the level to break, which we technically just have hit a new all-time high. But it is worth pointing out that yes, we'll likely find a little bit more resistance around this area, which means once again this bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame will likely play out at least over the next day, possibly a bit longer, but at least in the next 1 or 2 days or so, expect just a slight little cool off, lacking bullish momentum, showing a bit of weakness in the immediate short term. But overall on the daily time frame, the 3-day time frame, looking very bullish in terms of the momentum now starting to pick up, and obviously not much resistance above the price, only that small resistance around all-time highs. And so overall, considering that information, my current trading strategy is of course to have taken some profits out of my Bitcoin long position due to the fact that obviously we hit all-time highs, we got very close to this price target, getting into a little bit of resistance around here, but I don't expect a lot of resistance here compared to, for example, 117k. That was a much more significant level of resistance. But with that being said, considering we are struggling a little bit around this area, but mainly considering the fact that we have this new bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame, due to those reasons, I just took a little bit more profits off the table, slightly reducing the size of the long position, but not closing the entire trade. And so you can see right now, obviously I've reduced the size of the trade all the way down towards around a $30,000 Bitcoin long position. So it's now a relatively small trade compared to where it started out at around a 200k Bitcoin long position that I entered at around 110,000. You can even watch my video around a week ago. Over the last 1 week, I've been talking about this long position every single day from 110k onwards is where I've been saying expect bullish price action. I've been putting my money on the line, betting on bullish price action from 110k onwards. And so you can see right now my current realized profits, the profits I've already secured is over 9,000 USD and still around 4,000 USD in unrealized profits. So this is just quick and easy profits here in about 1 week from just one quick and easy trade that I've been sharing very transparently here on the channel from start to finish. But once again, overall, I'm still long on Bitcoin, which means let's just say if we play out the bearish divergence a little bit and then continue a new all-time high breakout later on, maybe in a few days or a week from now, obviously I'd continue to profit from more bullish price action if we ultimately see that, because I'm still long on Bitcoin. And of course, I also have spot Bitcoin holdings as well. And you can also see here that over the last one day, I've just adjusted the stop loss further into profits as well, so that even in the worst case scenario, if we just crash for whatever reason, that would hit the stop loss at that slightly higher level compared to over the last few days where the stop loss was sitting at, and automatically close the trade at that level, the rest of the trade in profits on top of the already realized profits here. And so that's just an update on my trading strategy, showing exactly how I'm planning to make a lot of profits from the coming Bitcoin move, which is once again potentially a little bit more of a cool off in the immediate short term, and then likely a continuation higher later on, which is why overall I'm still long on Bitcoin. And of course, if I see more entry points like I've already been pointing out over the last few days, like for example all the way down here, that was a major entry point which I shared here on the channel back then. And also here, if you missed that lower entry point, I said if we break out above 117k, 118k, that is another solid entry point for a long position. Not financial advice, but if I point out another long position or another entry point basically for any sort of trade, I will be sharing that here on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on so that you're notified as soon as I post these videos, so that you can take advantage of these trading opportunities if you want to make a lot of quick and easy profits, like what I'm doing right now with my own money, showing very transparently here on the channel how to do it. And of course, if you want to take trades like this, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking this trade right here over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim massive trading and deposit bonuses. For example, you can claim up to 120,000 USDT out of a prize pool for trading bonuses here just by trading crypto using that link. And there's also deposit bonuses. For example, if you make an account using the link below the video, only if you use that link and deposit 100 USDT, you get a $20 bonus. Or if you deposit $1,000, you get a $200 bonus from BTNX into your BTNX account. Basically free money from the exchange just by depositing and making an account using that link. But if you don't use that link, unfortunately, you cannot take advantage of any of these bonuses here. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check it out. Once again, first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim massive bonuses. For example, up to 10,000 USD in trial fund bonuses, and also 8,000 USDT in actual withdrawable stablecoins. And on top of these major deposit and trading bonuses here, without making any deposit or any trade, just by making an account using the second link below the video to 2bit, you get a free $30 sign up bonus and 1 month free VIP 3 upgrade. So basically very cheap trading fees over on 2bit, very cheap to trade. So once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check it out. If you don't use the link below the video, unfortunately, you cannot claim any of these bonuses here. So you might as well do that second link below the video to 2bit. And in case you're wondering, yes, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and possibly another reason why we might see just a slight little dip in the short term before maybe heading higher later on, is due to the fact that just in the 3-day chart right here, looking at the last 3 days worth of price action, we do have a small amount of liquidity building at around 120.9k to 121.4k. So give or take 121,000, we do have a decent amount of liquidity starting to build there. And usually, not always, but usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where we have a lot of liquidity building, especially if that liquidity is relatively close to the price. And so once again, this also combines with the fact that we have that short-term bearish divergence pointing towards perhaps a slight little dip in the short term just to take out that liquidity. Remember, it's only sitting at around 121k, which is only at around this level in the price chart. So it's not like a massive crash or anything, but just be aware that it is likely we're going to see a slight little cool off like this. And then once again, as I said earlier, it's entirely possible we could ultimately continue that larger bullish move or bullish trend later on. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the 3-day time frame, right now the Bitcoin dominance is still playing out that short-term bullish divergence, which means continue to expect a little bit of a slight bullish relief. Not a massive bullish move, but basically some bullish price action in the Bitcoin dominance is likely. And of course, I've been saying that every day over the last couple of weeks since all the way back down here. And so obviously since then, it's been playing out exactly exactly as predicted, and I continue to predict this price action moving forward, at least in the coming days, for the Bitcoin dominance. And so what this means in simple terms is a lot of the altcoin market, not every altcoin, but a lot of the major altcoins will still likely be slightly underperforming Bitcoin, so doing a little bit worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing. And so not a lot has changed on this chart over the last one day. So taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, and right now we're still in this same sideways price range between a crucial area of support and a massive area of resistance. And so in case you're new to the channel, this area of support is still sitting in between 3.9k to 4.1k, and this area of resistance is still sitting in between roughly 4.8k to 4.9k. So not much has changed over the last one day on this Ethereum price chart. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour Ethereum price chart, right now we also have just a very small bearish divergence here with a very slight lower high in the 8-hour Ethereum RSI, and also on slightly smaller time frames it's a little bit more visible here in the RSI, the lower high. And of course over the last one day we've created a clear higher high in the short-term price action in the candle closes here, which is of course a short-term bearish divergence, basically copying that short-term bearish divergence that Bitcoin is also now starting to play out just on that 4-hour time frame. And so this means it is likely Ethereum could be about to retest this area of support again, and of course it's still acting as strong support for the price of ETH, as we've seen many times in the past, and especially recently we have been holding this area as support, sitting in between roughly 4450 to 4.5k, so around 4,500 and just below 4,500. Still expect a lot of support around there on the price chart, and once again, due to the fact that we do have those short-term bearish divergences starting to form and confirm here, it is likely we could retest that support very soon. And of course it's important for the price to hold above that area in order to potentially avoid a further drop towards the next area of support, which by the way is sitting at around 4250 to 4280. But for now, still expect a lot of support in between roughly 4450 to 4.5k. And as for resistance, expect a lot of resistance at pretty much exactly 4.6k, which I've been saying since before we just perfectly rejected from that level. Obviously I've been saying basically target these previous highs as the next points of resistance to watch out for. The first one sitting at 4.6k, and above that also more resistance at roughly 4.7k as well, based on this high right here. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, obviously right now the price of Solana is still struggling around this Fibonacci level, sitting at give or take $230, really slightly above 230, around 232 give or take. And so continue to expect at least some resistance around that level on the price chart. But if we see a proper confirmed breakout here and actually continue to hold above that level, in that situation the next resistance is in between roughly 250 to 260. And if we break out above these highs, obviously we're just continuing the larger bullish trend, would likely get up towards almost $300, around 280, 300, around that area will likely be the next major price target or major point of resistance. But obviously for now we still have those short-term levels to pay attention to. And as for support to watch out for, if we see a bit more of a rejection here, we have a lot of support we should be expecting at around 215 to 216, and major support in between 190 to 200, which I've been saying here on the channel since before we perfectly bounced from that area. But if we're taking a look at the shorter term on the 4-hour Solana price chart, just over the last one day, in fact over the last few hours or so, we've now just officially confirmed a new short-term bearish divergence with clear higher highs in the price in the candle closes and clear lower highs now confirmed in the 4-hour Solana RSI. And obviously the last time we confirmed a bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame, or also on the 8-hour, the 12-hour time frame, this was also visible back here. But the last time we saw a bearish divergence for Solana was of course this one that was around mid-September, 18th of September is when it confirmed. And of course what came next was actually quite a large pullback for Solana. But I want to make it clear, we don't always see that sort of outcome from a bearish divergence. Sometimes it's just a little bit of a short-term cool off like this before maybe a continuation of the bullish trend later on, as I said earlier in the video for Bitcoin. But of course what it does tell us is that we should be expecting a bit of weakness in the short term, at least in the coming days here. Expect some weakness, lacking bullish momentum. Once again, not necessarily having a massive crash. It could just be some choppy sideways price action, maybe a slight pullback. Those are the most common outcomes from a bearish divergence. So expect that sort of price action here in the the short term, just in the coming hours or days here. Once again, only talking about the short-term moves. We're only on the 4-hour time frame, and then it is entirely possible we could continue the bullish trend later on, especially if Bitcoin does the same. As always, when it comes to altcoins, definitely still pay attention to what the price of Bitcoin is doing, and also pay attention to what the Bitcoin dominance is doing to figure out what is likely going to happen for a lot of altcoins. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, we technically still have that massive bearish divergence, which has not yet been invalidated, which obviously I warned about here on the channel back in July, around $3.40. Every day since then, I've been saying expect a larger cool off, basically showing a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum from almost all-time highs is when I started warning about this bearish divergence months ago now on the channel. You can even check the videos back then. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, we're still simply in this same sideways price range, still rejecting from my exact areas of resistance and bouncing from my exact areas of support. And so right now, still expect a lot of support in between $2.70 to $2.80, and a lot of resistance in between $3.10 to $3.15. And if we break out above that resistance, expect significant resistance in between $3.30 to $3.35. And as for a potential short-term point of support, do expect some support at roughly $2.93 to $2.94, which over the last one day, we've pretty much just perfectly bounced from that exact level at around $2.93, $2.94, which obviously I've been talking about since before that perfect bounce here. But considering the fact that Bitcoin is likely going to have just a slight little cool off, not necessarily crash or anything, but slight little cool off, a break from all of the bullish price action, alongside the fact that the Bitcoin dominance is having a slight bullish relief, this will likely cause XRP to kind of just remain in this sideways price range for the time being, at least in the short term, talking about the coming hours or days. Expect the price to remain in this range, at least for now. And so obviously, if you're into grid bots, this is a perfect time for a grid bot, not financial advice, but a grid bot trading strategy can make a lot of quick and easy profits, very passive profits from choppy sideways price action just like this, if you can spot a certain sideways price range. And of course, I'll leave a link to a video talking more about grid bots at the end of this video, so stick around for that if you want to know more about that sort of strategy. And if we're taking a look at Chainlink on the daily time frame, right now Chainlink is still somewhat struggling around that $22 level, just above $22. And so for now, obviously we do have a bit of short-term resistance at around close to $23 and support at roughly $22. So we're kind of just bouncing at that support at 22 and rejecting a little bit at around 23. But ultimately, if we make it out of that range here, break out above 23, the next major price target, major point of resistance to watch out for is really at roughly $25, give or take. We have a lot of resistance around there based on these previous rejections, these previous highs in the price. And technically speaking, until we can actually ideally break out back above these highs, above ideally $25, this price structure is still looking a little bit more bearish than it is bullish in terms of the larger price structure here, forming lower highs and lower lows on this daily Chainlink price chart. But in the immediate short term, obviously, if Bitcoin continues this major bullish move like what we've seen over the last 1 week, of course, that's really going to help assist Chainlink and a lot of major altcoins with some bullish price action as well. And so ultimately, just pay attention to what the price of Bitcoin combined with what the Bitcoin dominance is doing to figure out what is likely going to happen for a lot of altcoins like Chainlink, for example. So as I said earlier in the video, if Bitcoin plays out just a slight little cool off, lacking bullish momentum in the coming 1 or 2 days, along with the Bitcoin dominance having a slight bullish relief, that could likely cause maybe some choppy sideways price action, maybe even a slight little pullback, but basically just lacking momentum really to either direction in the next 1 or 2 days is very likely for the price of Chainlink. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, like what I'm doing right here to make a lot of very quick and easy profits in the market, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you're using the links below the video to those exchanges, you can claim massive deposit and trading bonuses that are only available using those links, alongside fee discounts only available using those links. And in case you actually want to know how to take trades like this for yourself to make a lot of quick and easy profits in crypto, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action using a grid bot trading strategy very passively. But as always, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.